I'm John McKee, editor of Messianic Apologetics. Messianicapologetics.net. And I would like to welcome you to this episode of Messianic Insider, your theology and news roundup for May the 12th, 2025. There is certainly a great deal happening right now in the world. There's a lot of talk, a lot of speculation. From the new pope to the situation between Russia and Ukraine, India, Pakistan, and the departure of President Trump for his Middle East trip to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and then the United Arab Emirates. A lot of people are talking. A lot of people are wondering, and we want to be up to date on all of these things, but we want to be up to date in a realistic way. Now, before we get into our material today, if you have not already, please do go to Messianicapologetics.net. Here in the right-hand column, you see blog notifications. Be automatically notified by email when Messianic Apologetics is updated. So you can put your email in there. This is different from our email update list, which you can subscribe to via the envelope icon at the top. Whenever something is added to the Messianic Apologetics website or something which we've pulled back and now it's reintroduced, such as the Divine Identity Christology FAQ from today, you will receive an automatic notification. So put your email in there, you'll be asked to confirm, and you can stay up to date with everything we are doing. Okay, so there's a lot which is happening right now. Excuse me. Over the weekend, yesterday, I woke up with a massive headache because everything is in bloom here in North Texas. And when I mean everything is in bloom, if you have a white car, a white vehicle, it's turned a shade of yellow. There is that much pollen out there right now. So I woke up yesterday. I had to take take 2 pink pills to dry me up and everything. And I was drowsy all day, just, completely knocked me out. I really couldn't even walk straight. It was so bad. But I am getting back to normal, and the work of ministry obviously continues. All right, so let's get started on the theology roundup. What are we to do as Bible readers with Daniel 9:27? If you are a premillennialist, you believe that Yeshua returns before the 1,000-year millennium. You probably also believe in a final 7-year period, the 70th week of Israel, the 70th week of Daniel, the time of Jacob's trouble, the tribulation period, the second half of which is commonly known as the Great Tribulation. I myself have seen no reason to dismiss or deny that. Excuse me again. But there are a lot of questions circulating, especially now with President Trump going to the Middle East, with discussions about Palestinian statehood, discussions about, is there a rift between President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu? Trump has talked about this golden age. Is that just talking about financial stability, paying off the national debt, rewinding things back to simpler times when we didn't have all these taxes and everything? Or is Trump going to bring about the rise of the beast? In fact, is he even the beast himself? So there's a lot of talk about that. I am inclined to believe that sorry again. I am personally inclined to believe that Trump's golden age is going to be focusing on opening up new financial markets, wanting to restore American prosperity and pay off the national debt. But all of this does play into the end times in some way. So with that in mind, what do you do about Daniel 9:27? So let's turn to our Bible software. Yes, there it is, Daniel 9:27. This is Logos. And let's read, excuse me, I'm so sorry, Daniel 9:27, first from the 1995 New American Standard Update. And he will make a firm covenant with the many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week, he will put a stop to sacrifice and grain offering, and on the wing of abominations will come one who makes desolate. Even a complete destruction, one that is decreed, is poured out on the one who makes desolate. Customarily among premillennialists, it is believed that the anti-Messiah or Antichrist will make a 7-year peace agreement with Israel and its neighbors. And then in the middle of this 7-year peace agreement, initiating Daniel's 70th week, the peace agreement will be violated, and the abomination of desolation will be committed on the Temple Mount in either a rebuilt third temple or at the very least in some kind of a tabernacle structure. I am personally inclined to believe that the third temple will be rebuilt, that there will be animal sacrifices on it. And then subsequent to the abomination of desolation, which of course has precedence in Jewish history going all the way back to the Maccabean crisis, Antiochus Epiphanes, when he sacrificed a pig on the altar and had a statue of himself erected in the Temple Mount complex, and the Temple Mount complex was turned into a house of prostitution. Something similar will take place at this abomination. A statue of the anti-Messiah will be set up. The world will be made to worship it. He will be declared a god by the false prophet. And then humanity will enter into a very, very dark period of history. Now, of course, we have to be flexible on details because there are a lot of people right now. Trump going to the Middle East, we have a new pope in the Vatican. There are a lot of people right now speculating. And one of the things which I remember being brought to my attention several decades ago, so back in the mid-1990s, is here you see Daniel 9:27, New American Standard. He will make a firm covenant with the many for 1 week. Yet we know that there are some other translations of this, such as the NIV or New International Version. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1:7. Go down to the Venerable King James Version, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And that's kind of interesting when you look up the verb gavar. Does it mean make firm, or does it mean confirm? So what would that mean for somebody who is studying prophecy? You know, there are a lot of people out there who are premillennialists who conclude that the future anti-Messiah or Antichrist will make a covenant with Israel and its neighbors. He will make a peace treaty for 7 years, and then in the middle of that 7 years, it will be broken. Yet, we do have to put out the possibility that the anti-Messiah, Antichrist, is actually not going to be someone who makes a peace covenant or a peace treaty between Israel and its neighbors. Rather, he could confirm already existent peace treaties and agreements. In other words, give his assent to. And then, of course, he'll break it in the middle of that 7-year period. And these are things we really have to keep in mind. And the reason we have to keep in mind these possibilities is because right now you're going to see speculation hit some all-time highs. And one of the reasons why many younger people, in particular millennials who grew up around the rapture culture of the 1980s and 1990s, one of the reasons why so many of them are dismissing a premillennial scenario as a product of the baby boomers is because of all of the unwarranted speculation and guessing of the 1980s, 1990s, into the 2000s and into the 2010s. And we're just going to see more and more cycles of this. Now, I believe, as can certainly be seen in our news roundup, that we've got to pay attention to what's going on, but we have to do so responsibly. So Daniel 9:27, if you hold to a premillennial view of that, as I do, I don't see any reason to abandon that. Jot down in your notes, will the anti-Messiah, antichrist actually make the peace covenant, the peace agreement, or will he confirm a peace covenant, peace agreement, which is already existent? We don't know yet. And it's our responsibility to simply be aware of the possibilities. Okay, so let's get into some news, because over the weekend, actually Friday through the weekend, there's a lot going on right now. And as I said, a lot of people are speculating, and we have to be very realistic about some of this speculation. Now, when this episode is archived on MessianicApologetics.net, all the links will be provided, so you can go and you can watch the different clips or read the different articles. And these are things which have mostly come across my social media feed passively. I haven't necessarily gone out and looked for these things. Okay, so Breitbart, May the 9th, senior advisor and assistant to the POTUS, that's President of the United States, Steve Witkoff, told Breitbart News exclusively that the government of Iran has told him that the Iranians have agreed that they do not want a nuclear weapon. The Iranian situation is, of course, ongoing. The Iranian economy is in absolute shambles right now. If they want to be restored to any kind of prosperity with basic services like water and electricity, they've got to cut a deal with the United States administration. Okay, here's a post from Culture Explorer, and this is on the new Pope Leo XIV. Pope Leo XIV isn't just a break from tradition, he's a sign of what's coming. And whether we like the Vatican or not, whether we like the papacy or not, and I'm no fan of Roman Catholicism, the papacy does affect us in the world today. The Vatican does affect us religiously, politically, as well as socially. And we all have Roman Catholic neighbors. And we're going to be discussing what do we do as Messianics with Roman Catholicism soon. But here, this gives you just a brief overview of Pope Leo XIV, born in Chicago, son of a French-Italian World War II vet and a Hispanic-American mother, became a Peruvian citizen after 20 years of missionary work, speaks 7 languages, and leads 1.3 billion Catholics. The main thing we want to be paying attention to is progressive on mercy, conservative on truth. He's not left or right. His papal name, Leo XIV, is a signal he's invoking Leo the Great, who once faced down Attila the Hun. Okay, we'll just wait and see. But there's going to be a lot of people over the next few weeks as the new pope gets settled in. Who is he? How is this going to change things religiously? And what do we need to be paying attention to? What are we going to like? What are we not going to like? Now, with a lot of people paying attention to the new pope, and we all need to be paying attention to it because he's going to affect the world. Many of us remember how John Paul II affected the collapse of communism, things like that. So this pope is going to affect the world. People are going to be speculating. And Over the weekend, some of the first round of speculation began to hit. This post has been going around social media quite a bit. Just doing a bit of digging here. Allow me to make an observation. Of course, it's prefaced. I'm not saying he is the AC, Antichrist. The prophet Daniel spoke of seeing 4 coming beasts. The first he saw was a lion. The new pope has chosen Leo as his name, meaning lion. And so you've got people speculating that, oh my goodness, I just lost the screen there, that Pope Leo XIV is one of the beasts of Daniel 7:2-4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. And it's communicated, a lion with eagle's wings, an American eagle. He is an American. So people are saying this, and what's going to happen from this post? A lot of people are going to say, you see, it's because of stuff like this. We get a new pope, Leo XIV. They're immediately saying, well, he might be the lion with eagle's wings of the 4 beasts of Daniel 7. People who were raised in the rapture culture of the 1980s and 1990s and into the year 2000 are going to say, this is just crap. This is just crap. This is the kind of reading messages into things that goes nowhere and that brings discredit to the gospel, brings discredit to the message of prophecy. And this is why you got a lot of people saying, the baby boomers did us wrong prophecy-wise, and they made a lot of mistakes. I mean, look at Jack Van Impe, look at Hal Lindsey, look at some of these other people. This is the kind of stuff that I can't trust anymore. And indeed, if you actually look into what this new Pope Leo XIV has said regarding who he is, regarding why he chose the name Leo, it has to do with Leo XIII. So rewind, go all the way back to the late 19th century, early 20th century, and Leo XIII, and I remember learning about this in seminary, he is the one who said that the church really is going to have to modern up, deal with some of the new realities of the modern period. The Industrial Revolution, new discoveries, new proposals in science. The church is going to have, this is the Roman Catholic Church, is going to have to come to grips with Darwinism. Those are the kinds of things Leo XIII had to sort through for Roman Catholicism. And then it later affected Protestantism and also Judaism. Leo XIV has said he's going to have to deal with some of these new realities of, in our age of genetic experimentation, what it means to be human. What are we going to have to do with artificial intelligence? These are the kinds of things which Leo XIV is going to have to deal with, and it's going to filter into Protestantism. It's going to filter into Judaism. Those are the kinds of things we need to be probing, not this reading messages into Scripture that, oh, he's a lion. He's the lion of Daniel 7. We need to get beyond that kind of crap. We really do. And I'm ashamed that some people haven't learned the lessons of the 1980s and 1990s committing that kind of eisegesis. I'm the first person who says you got to pay attention to the papacy because many people have associated the false prophet of Revelation with a possible future pope. But that is not required by any means. You can have just a religious figure come out of nowhere who will gather everyone's attention because he's charismatic and he's got a compelling message. Let's not commit theological eisegesis with the new pope. And please don't pass around stuff like this. It brings a lot of discredit. No different than all the people who think that Prince Charles of Wales, now King Charles III, is the Antichrist. Charles is going to die of cancer before too long, and all those people who got people stirred up about this are going to be proven incorrect. Okay, moving on. Now, this is more serious. This is an article which was circulating over the weekend by the Jerusalem Post. Gulf diplomatic sources debate if Trump will announce U.S. recognition of Palestinian state. And this got a huge amount of attention, both from people following prophecy, some people in the Messianic community. Some people wonder whether they can take the Jerusalem Post seriously or not, because it is somewhat left-wing, not too different than the New York Times or the Washington Post or those kinds of venues. But here it says, Saudi Arabia will host a Gulf U.S. summit in mid-May, so that's now. During Trump's Mideast visit, speculation swirls over a major announcement on a Palestinian state and peaceful U.S.-Saudi nuclear cooperation. Okay. Now, moving on, because it's also been reported along with that there is a rift between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and along with that, U.S.-Israeli relations. Now, here's somebody who says, from the X channel, Awesome Jew, all the talk about a supposed rift between Trump and Netanyahu really just proves one thing: Israel does not control the United States or its president. The U.S. and Israel are strong allies, but Trump has always put America's interests first, just like Israel looks out for its own. Their alliance is based on shared values and mutual benefits, not control. And let's be honest, Trump is not anyone's puppet. I still think the U.S.-Israel relationship is strong and can easily handle disagreements between leaders. I am not worried at all. And indeed, for the initial future right now, I'm in the same category. But didn't stop some people from saying things like this. This is from End Time Headlines, May the 11th. So yesterday, the summit will be held in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, and has generated considerable anticipation, especially surrounding an announcement that Trump hinted at during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at the White House on May the 6th. And the headline is, speculation rises that Trump will announce U.S. recognition of a Palestinian state. Now, we know, if you follow the news, you got one opinion over here, one opinion over there. We will wait and see, and we will react on the basis of what takes place. But we do monitor things. Now, another conflict. This is from May the 10th, the New York Post. The U.S. brokered a full and immediate ceasefire between Pakistan and India, President Trump announced Saturday, a move expected to end the deadly violence which recently erupted in the Kashmir region. After a long night of talks mediated by the United States, I am pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire, Trump wrote in a Morning Truth social post. Of course, we know that this is something which can easily flare up again. There's been talk that they haven't been totally abiding by it, but this is a serious issue. And the reason it's serious is both India and Pakistan are nuclear. That's why it's serious. Okay, let's break things up a little bit. This is also from the New York Post, May the 10th. Charles Barkley bluntly responded to the stupid supporters of transgender athletes as the NBA legend voiced his concerns on the controversial debate, saying he won't change his mind. You know, it's kind of interesting. Charles Barkley is not exactly a social conservative, but Charles Barkley goes scorched earth on transgender athletics debate. Okay, so to the other venue we're deeply concerned about, Russia and Ukraine. There was a meeting over the weekend between the leader of Ukraine, President Zelensky, and the leaders of UK Prime Minister, French President, German Chancellor, and Polish Prime Minister. And that's getting a lot of speculation, a lot of talk, especially with an anticipated meeting later this week in Turkey between President Zelensky and President Putin. So are we going to see the Russia-Ukraine conflict come to a conclusion or not? Okay, now this is from the Times of Israel, May the 12th. Yesterday, Mike Huckabee, who's the ambassador to Israel, many of us know him as the former governor of Arkansas, Huckabee says report Trump to recognize Palestinian state nonsense. So this is from his X account. Jerusalem Post needs better sources than this unidentified source. My 4-year-old grandson, Teddy, is more reliable. And take it from Teddy, this report is nonsense. So yeah, you can read this article in its entirety. But yeah, how much of that is just to get clicks? How much of that is just to get attention? That's what a lot of these news stories are. They're just intended to get clicks and to generate attention. So we have to look at them critically. We have to pay attention to them somewhat skeptically, always. Now, this is very interesting. This is from May the 10th from the Post Millennial, and this is about the new Pope, Pope Leo the 14th, and particularly his older brother, Lou. And I thought this was very fascinating. Pope Leo's older brother revealed to be massive Trump-supporting MAGA patriot, praised J.D. Vance, Elon Musk. So now, many people have seen some of Pope Leo's previous social media posts when he was cardinal, going after J.D. Vance, criticizing some of the things Donald Trump has stood for. But like every American family, he's going to have family members like his brother here who, in his case, Trump-supporting MAGA patriots. So at the very least, it indicates that Pope Leo the 14th comes from a more conservative rather than liberal family. But, we'll monitor this. But I did think this was fascinating. And there have been some other posts on Lou Prevost as well from his social media account. Okay, from BRICS News, May the 10th, Pakistani Prime Minister declares victory over India. We have won. This is a victory. So, tensions between India and Pakistan can flare up at almost any time. Now, this is also from End Time Headlines on May the 11th. So yesterday, Huckabee calls Netanyahu-Trump relationship strained over opposing Mideast solutions nonsense. The sources include 2 United States officials, 2 diplomats from the Middle East, and 2 additional individuals knowledgeable about the ongoing tensions, as clarified by NBC. Now, we should expect, as things move ahead, the U.S. administration, the Israeli government, others, they're not going to agree on everything. That's life, people. And as some kind of a final resolution to the Hamas conflict comes out, I have no doubt that President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have had some disagreements. Nobody is going to be happy 100% with what comes out of this. But we have to be realistic. And part of that realism is media enterprises want you to read their stuff. They want you to follow their stuff. So they're going to frequently and possibly have some of these over-the-top headlines. Okay, 2 more stories. This is from BRICS News yesterday, May the 11th. Ukrainian President Zelensky says, I will meet Putin in Turkey on Thursday. And as far as we know, before going live, that is something which is still on the agenda. And President Trump has made it clear, 5,000 people dying every week is unacceptable. This conflict needs to come to a conclusion. And is everyone going to be happy with what could come from a final agreement? No. But this conflict, this is definitely in the bracket of wars and rumors of wars from Matthew 24. Does it have a specific significance regarding the prophecy scenario or not? That's a long-term issue. But in the short term, you've got the country with the largest number of nuclear weapons, which has been fighting. You've got the West, which has been propping up Ukraine. This needs to be taken care of. And I do agree with President Trump. If he had been in office when this started, it would have come to a very quick conclusion. If not, it may not have even happened at all. Okay, and our final story, this is from End Time Headlines, and this is where we have to think critically, we have to think reasonably. This week will begin a process that will either lead to peace or World War III. If both leaders show up, this is speaking of Zelensky and Putin, peace negotiations will start in Turkey on Thursday. But will these negotiations lead to peace or will they lead to World War III? Hopefully, something can get hammered out, which will be to the satisfaction of all the parties involved. But one of the things which did recently take place was the big 80th victory celebration in Moscow, commemorating the end of World War II. And right next to President Putin was who? President Xi of China. And you had all these other leaders. So we do not live in a unipolar world, which is centered around the West, America. We live in a multipolar world. Moscow, Beijing, New Delhi, Islamabad, other places, and learning how to deal with that multipolar world, especially as we evaluate, okay, when we are on God's timeline, is going to be important. The Vatican, how much influence does that have? So we just have to wait and see. And yeah, there's a lot to be paying attention to. There's a lot to be praying about, but we have to be realistic, because the younger people, as we monitor the world and as we pay attention to this, we pay attention to that. If we are caught reading messages into prophecy, reading current events into prophecy, and things do not occur, I can personally assure you that is where people will start. I don't want to pay attention to prophecy anymore. You know, people have been saying stuff like this for years. They've been saying, you know, Ronald Wilson Reagan, 666, or Henry Kissinger, 666, or Juan Carlos of Spain, 666. They've been, reading messages like this into prophecy for generations. I've got better things to do with myself. So we have to, as we rightfully pay attention to the things in our multipolar world, not get caught up in some of the temporary sensationalism and temporary hype. And the Messianic community, and I mean this actually quite firmly, we've seen this as a family for 3 decades. And what it does is it gets us focused off of the things we should be focusing on. Rather than thinking of Pope Leo as being the lion beast of Daniel 7, instead, look at the social changes which took place during the papacy of Leo the 13th, and the social and technological changes which are likely to take place during the papacy of Leo the 14th. That's going to affect us far more. And recognizing that questions are being raised about what it means to be human, all this genetic experimentation which goes on. What do we do with this thing called artificial intelligence, AI? What kind of things are going to be different over the next 10 to 20 years, presumably during that papacy? That is what we need to be focusing on. The questions that surround the whole extraterrestrial matter, and what new discussions are going to come out. That is a lot more important, because it affects people's faith and whether they continue to believe in God, trust in the Holy Scriptures or not. That's a whole lot more important than having some kind of flash in the pan social media post. Pope Leo might be the beast of of Daniel 7. He might be the false prophet of Revelation. We've got to learn how to be more responsible with this. Okay, so there are a lot of things we got to be praying about this week. How are they going to change our world? We will wait and see. But I believe, as I am sure many of you all do as well, that our eternal God and King is still on the throne, and nothing happens without him knowing about it. As always, on behalf of Outreach Israel Ministries and Messianic Apologetics, I would like to sincerely thank you for your ongoing prayers, encouragement, and donations toward all of our ministry efforts. You can give online at outreachisrael.net/support. We'll see you again tomorrow with another episode of Messianic Insider. Until then, may God bless you, shalom, and take care.